Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Joseph Parker vowed to make a statement against Jack Massey, except he probably didn't make the statement that he was expecting. This was meant to be a fight, a tune-up for Joseph Parker, hand-picked opponent in Jack Massey, a cruiserweight no less, who was coming up to heavyweight, who'd been basically plucked from obscurity. Parker was meant to go in there, put a beating on him, have a confidence-building fight, except it goes all 10 rounds, and Joseph Parker barely puts a dent in Jack Massey, can't put him down, can't take him out. And while he did land a number of decent shots, overall the performance was, I think, underwhelming. That best describes the performance overall. Started positively, but Joseph Parker just got into a pattern of mediocrity during the fight, and his trainer Andy Lee after the fight did not look pleased. He said, and this was very diplomatically with a bit of a grimace on his face, this was a part of the rebuilding process, and he said Joseph Parker's got to work on a lot of things. And when you're fighting on a big card and you're meant to be a top 10 heavyweight there or thereabouts, and you're struggling to deal with and put away a cruiserweight who you've handpicked for a tune-up. This was a tune-up. This was not some 50-50 sort of fight. Jack Massey manages to go the distance, but not only that, he actually starts to pick up some rounds and have confidence in the second half of the fight. And you can make the argument, sure, Jack Massey was being negative early, but we knew he would be. That he was the lighter man, smaller man. He probably had the speed advantage. He would probably be boxing and moving from the outside. I'm sure Joseph Parker, I'm sure Andy Lee knew that, and I'm sure that they were training for any eventuality along those lines. But Joseph Parker can't cut off the ring, followed Jack Massey around the ring all night, and just was not landing clean enough, wasn't landing often enough, wasn't throwing many combinations, too much one-off stuff. And he just really couldn't break down Jack Massey to the level that Andy Lee was calling for in the corner. Lee was saying, work to the body. You've got to be patient. You can't just look for the big shot. And Joseph Parker probably didn't throw enough combinations. And it just was, I guess you could describe, underwhelming. What damage has this done to Joseph Parker's stock? And not only that, judges' scorecards 96-93, 97-92, 97-93. Bearing in mind Jack Massey had a point deducted. So that means one judge gave Jack Massey 4 rounds and 2 of the other judges 3 rounds. It seems one judge had a round even. So Joseph Parker having rounds taken off him by a somewhat light punching cruiserweight who managed to put hands on him in the second half of the fight. Jack Massey was building confidence in the final 5 rounds. He was actually managing to land his right hand, the left hook, some other shots, and occasionally looked like they were having a momentary effect on Joseph Parker. But Joseph Parker taking the distance. Dear oh dear, I mean, what do you do from here? The plan for them was to have 5 fights this year. This is the stated goal. I mean, that's unrealistic and not going to happen. Apparently, on the 3-fight deal with Boxer and Sky, if there's 1 fight left in the deal, he's going to be thrown in a lot tougher. And based on what we've seen, what are his chances against a legitimate heavyweight and someone who can punch and someone who's just got a high level of skill and is acclimated to the heavyweight division? And I know there's going to be some people coming in here and saying that, look, you have to give Jack Massey credit. He was the one that made Parker look bad. I think there's a small element of that, and sure, Jack Massey deserves credit for managing to go the distance here, and that probably helps his stock. But if we're being realistic, Joseph Parker didn't look dynamic. Joseph Parker wasn't the bully that he should have been. Joseph Parker didn't deliver. Joseph Parker didn't do his job. Joseph Parker's stock has suffered as a result of his slightly underwhelming and so-so performance. You handpicked the guy. You handpicked the guy and you couldn't really do much with him. And at times, I mean, early on I was thinking, actually, Jack Massey on the outside reminds me of what Joseph Parker used to do to a lot of his opponents once he reached the world level, and box and move on the back foot, try to pick your pocket, jabs, land right hands. And he was negative, but the second half of the fight started to hold his feet a bit more, tried to trade with Parker. There were more openings for Parker. He couldn't really take advantage to full extent. And when he did let his hands go and throw more than one or two shots, he was having success. He just couldn't keep it going. So you look at this and go, where's he going? Is he still a top 10 heavyweight? And some people might go, well, is that just, sort of too much alarmist, reactionary sort of comment? I mean, you tell me. Based on that performance, would he beat a top 10 heavyweight? And I guess one thing we can put to bed, I know that there's a few Joseph Parker truthers out there that try to say that he's punching harder under Andy Lee, the Kronk style. Couldn't take out this domestic level cruiserweight. And that's the real shame of it. This level of opponent has exposed that Joseph Parker does not have world level punching power. But for everyone who's watched his career for any length of time, you already knew that. Jack Massey, sure, he might have a decent chin, but in the scheme of things, he didn't really sort of deserve this fight. He shouldn't have been in the conversation for it. It was a cherry pick, and I'm not going to say it went wrong, because for the most part, Parker was in control of the fight. He just didn't do enough. He didn't sparkle. He didn't prove that he was so many levels above. And that's his problem. Joseph Parker fought down to the level of his opponent, and the judges gave Massey 3 or 4 rounds. It's a terrible look. It's a terrible look. So Joseph Parker gets the decision, but where does he go from here? Seriously, where does he go from here? It's not looking good for him. I'm sure that there's going to be all sorts of spin from Ben Shalom, from David Higgins. I mean, the New Zealand media will talk up Jack Massey as this plucky sort of upstart trying to get his Rocky moment. Massey performed how I expected Massey would. It's really that Joseph Parker didn't live up to expectations, didn't perform to the level that I think we know that he can. And the question is, well, why didn't he? Why can't Andy Lee seem to get more out of him? Is this a case of Parker's delivering in the gym but failing under the lights? That's always been something that Kevin Barry had sort of alluded to and made comments on when he had Joseph Parker. Andy Lee did not look pleased at the end. I think if you're a New Zealand boxing fan looking at Joseph Parker, you're probably thinking, geez, what's going on with Joseph Parker? What is up with Joseph Parker? Is he starting to fall out of his prime? Remembering he's been pro for a decade. Is this just the natural course of things that maybe he is at the end of his prime and we're seeing it in real time, that he is on the decline? I think we have to start asking these questions. Didn't fire as much. I mean, despite all the talk from the Sky commentators and basically saying he was neck and neck with Joyce in that fight, he wasn't. He wasn't. I mean, you can try to dress it up for all you want, and Team Parker, Andy Lee can make all the excuses. Oh, there was a bit of illness, or, maybe the sparring affected him, da-da-da-da-da. We've seen 2 performances in a row from Joseph Parker where you're just like, that's not what you should have been throwing up based on what we've seen from you before. And I guess, given that, and it's been under Andy Lee, are things on the training front working out? Maybe that's a question we have to start asking. But I guess we will see with the next one. But you better believe if the next fight on Sky is Parker's last on his current deal, they're going to throw him in tough. And maybe that's going to be the real acid test. But had that been Michael Hunter, and that's a name that could be potentially linked to Joseph Parker in a fight with Sky, he probably would have beaten Joseph Parker. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.